Well, it might be an understatement to say that it's been an eventful couple of weeks for Oak Bay Investments, that's the Gupta-controlled company, and probably a South African first. We saw several companies, financial services companies, severing ties with the Oak Bay Investment Company and leaving the JSE-listed company without a sponsor after KPMG dropped the company as auditor, also dropped by Barclays Africa and FNB. Has the current business landscape in South Africa made it impossible for Oak Bay to do business? Nazeem Howa is the Chief Executive of Oak Bay Investments, and he joins us now. Nazeem, it's been a tough couple of weeks for you, as I say. Let's just start with important news today, which some commentators, I think, said wouldn't happen. The acquisition of the Optimum mine from Glencore. Tagata is the Oak Bay subsidiary that acquired that. I think the view was, well, where are they going to get the money? But the deal has happened, so tell us about that first.
Well, you know, David, today I think I want to call it a very bittersweet day for me. Sweet in that we've managed to close the deal. We've probably proven our detractors very badly wrong, and I wish they would accept that if we've proven them wrong. But very sad that another day has gone by, and I cannot offer any of our staff comfort that the banks have opened the doors to us.
Let's just go into a bit of detail of these withdrawals. KPMG, the auditor, withdraws. The sponsor withdraws. The banks have withdrawn. Are you without banking services now? Can you not make payments to people or receive payments?
Not at all. Not at all. We've got reasonable notice in terms of the banking regulations. And our banking services will run until, I think it's the 6th of June. The last of the accounts will be closed. So we have banking services for the moment. But, you know, as any good business, we need to look further forward than that. And I think that is a challenge for us.
So are there other banks on the horizon? Are you talking to the ones that have withdrawn?
We're trying to engage with them. We've not been very successful so far, to be very frank with you.
What have they said to you? Because I think it's unprecedented in South Africa. As far as we know, certainly there's been no publicity. It's not a company that's insolvent. It's not a company where the chief executive has committed a crime, fraud. There have been other companies where that's happened and they haven't had the withdrawals like this. What did they say to you?
Well, you know, David, I'm very glad you used the word unprecedented, because I think it's, it's the biggest shock of our lives. We've never seen this happen with other companies that have been found guilty of criminal activities, in fact. The banks have continued to do business with them. But essentially, I think the common refrain from the banks is a very simple one-liner. Refer to the terms and conditions when you open the bank account. We reserve the right to close your bank account.
What did they say when you said, well, you know, why? What did they say?
Well, you know, ABSA was the first one which closed our bank accounts in December.
We didn't hear about it at the time.
Well, we chose not to. We chose not to announce any of the closures.
Well,
the banks, despite saying that they have client confidentialities, it's leaked from the bank side, not from our side, because we've kept quiet on it. But ABSA, we engaged probably in a very lengthy email correspondence, but never got an answer. And I think they gave us notice on the 18th of December, David. I think I probably sent 10 or 12, 15 emails to them, including the chief executive's office.
Couldn't you go and see them?
Well, you needed an appointment to see them. I didn't get any of that. I think I finally got a letter sometime in February just saying we don't see any purpose in continuing this engagement. Refer to your terms and conditions.
FNB the same?
Well, FNB did it very differently. We got letters from the attorneys, in fact, not even a visit from the bank itself. And I don't think that banking partners treat each other in that way.
Well, to an outsider looking in, not being aware of the details of the relationship, it looks like the Gupta Family Association became so toxic for all these companies and providers that they felt they could not be associated with you anymore.
Well, the difficulty, David, is that, you know, our constitution is a very good document. It's one of the most progressive documents. And those who are wanting to unseat the president, for instance, often quote the constitution. Now, I also want to quote the constitution today. You're innocent until proven guilty. So what is it that we've done wrong? You know, if I'm a chief executive sitting in the comfort of my home as a banking CEO, I know where my next salary paycheck is coming. Why should our staff not have the same right? Now, David, I've been retrenched once in my life. It's the most soul-destroying experience you can go through. But this is being forced on our staff by these banks. They're choosing to do that without giving us the opportunity to say to them, the shareholders have made a massive move to move away from the business.
Okay, but let's go back to why this happened. I mean, we had, just to take two incidents, there was the Waterkloof Air Force Base where the family flew in private guests, private wedding at a national key point, National Defence Force institution. There was a lot of fuss about that. Scapegoats were identified and so on. But perhaps that might have been regarded as more trivial compared to the idea of the offer of the Finance Ministry to Deputy Minister Jonas, and after that, his confirmation of that offer. So the question has to be asked, were the Guptas acting as the President's informal or formal representatives in offering cabinet appointments? Were they doing that?
David, I read the Sunday Times story, and the first thing I did was ask the brothers that were named in the story about this. Now, Mr. Atul Gupta was out of the country at the time. Mr. Ajay Gupta was in the country. He denies being involved in that meeting.
So does this mean the Deputy Minister was lying?
Not being there myself, I can't make a judgment either way. But the one question that bugs me about this whole issue is, in terms of our own regulations, this should have come to the fore a long time ago when the offer was made. But in any case, I listen to the President, and it's the presidential prerogative to appoint people to the cabinet. So, no good citizen should actually engage with anybody else, because nobody else can make that appointment.
But you can see from the outside that someone is lying. Either the Deputy Minister's lying or the Guptas are lying.
But certainly, David, I saw Julius Malema say on a rival TV channel that the Guptas moved 6 billion on the presidential jet. I then went with a calculator and said, if our biggest denomination is 200 Rand notes, what is the weight of 6 billion? And with my little bit of science knowledge, it's actually impossible to put on a jet. Yet it got published in lots of media as fact.
Right. Whatever the actual events, certainly the storm that occurred because of events like this, and rumours over a long time, this must have concerned you as the Chief Executive, because
absolutely.
Whether it's true or not, reputation depends on not having scandals, fusses, controversies like this.
But David, I called it very often, and I have a very close relationship with the shareholder. So I called it a whispering campaign, which very, very quickly grew into a crescendo. But again, I'll come back to the problem with the whispering campaign, and you were a veteran journalist, is we need to check facts. We need to have the burden of proof. Now, the question I would ask the banks, and I saw the Banking Association statement today, where is the single shred of proof of anything being wrong? In fact, we've been at pains to say to the banks, give us a meeting, tell us what we've done wrong. Now, the ANC has gone on its own mission in terms of a process. Surely, if I was a banking CEO with a heart, I would say, let me see what comes out of this one, because we'll know the truth on the Jonas issue, on any other issue of state capture. And then I can make a decision in good conscience. I can put people on the street because I'll say those were ill-gotten gains. But there is no proof of any of those. Otherwise, there would be charges and all the rest of it, David. But again, the message that I want to convey to you is on KPMG's last audit, and they've audited us for 16 years, 1% of our turnover comes from government. 1%, mainly in New Age. We only started coal supply to Eskom in March last year.
And there's no suggestion of qualified audits or irregularities in the audits?
None whatsoever. KPMG have made it very, very clear. They see an association risk, whatever that may mean. But essentially, in the note to staff, he's made it very, very clear there was no audit issue ever.
Yeah. We heard in a report on the radio saying, or a lady who drives past the Gupta's house says they've gone. Then we get the Sunday papers. So it sounds like they've gapped it. The heat's too much. Try and dissociate themselves from the companies, even if they're still shareholders, and go to try and take the heat off you, take the heat off the president maybe. What's actually happening with that?
Well, let me say, I think our journalists there have taken 2 and 2 and come up with 44, to be very frank with you. Let me deal with several issues. Their decision to step away, to resign executive, non-executive positions, not to be involved in day-to-day running of the business, was really to save the jobs. It was their offering to say, if you're concerned about the family's relationship in the business, let us step away, save the jobs of our people.
Well, they're still shareholders, though.
Certainly. But so is every other business. Like CNBC, you have shareholders in the business, you have a CEO, you have board, you have directors who manage a business, ensure good governance, transparency, all the rest of the good things happen. We're not alone there. But what journalists have suggested is they left. There's a son getting married next week in Turkey.
They're coming back?
Certainly, I don't see any reason why they would not. Why would you put 2.2 billion, 2.2 after interest has been added, into buying Optimum if you're not committed to the country?
Final question. Those jobs, you mentioned earlier 7,500 jobs. Are all of those jobs really at risk?
Well, at the moment, we have Standard Bank still with Optimum. My plea to the Standard Bank leadership tonight, think of the staff we've just taken on. We took a business out of business rescue. Their jobs were threatened in business rescue. Don't commit this kind of atrocity.
So they can still be paid. You said your relationship with the banks is still going. But now this deal, presumably the banks are not withdrawing from this deal. They make money out of the deal and they are still active in orchestrating the deal.
Well, the banks, the only involvement of the banks will be to settle their debt, which we've done. So that's been the only relationship with the banks.
You yourself, are you going to continue as chief executive of Oakbay?
Certainly I am, David. I think we have a great business. We have a great bunch of people, great bunch of executives, and I dare say a great set of shareholders. It was their vision that created the jobs we have today. And I think, if you put blood, sweat and tears into growing a business and you're forced out, it's only a great shareholder is going to say, for the sake of my employees and their jobs, let me step away. I'm not sure I would be that good.
That is the Chief Executive of Oakbay, Nazeem Howa. And that's where we have to leave it for Business Tonight this evening. In a moment, back with the Money Manager. Have a good evening.